minute.
This week on the House of Static, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist producer, New York City resident, and Ukraine native, Margarita Shamrakov. Explosion of this, like, instantaneous reporting and information from everybody around the world. It's really wild. But what we haven't done actually is start the show. So let's.
This is all going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably will. That'll be the prelude,
it'll
right?
Be at the end, but anyway. So that's okay. Do you want me to do it again, or you to do it, or what?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the House of Static. I'm Bob Smith, also known as the Static Dive. That's the static part, and my friend and co-host, Mr. Kilo House. Kilo, say hello.
Hello, Kilo.
All right, there you go. Ed Kilo is the house part of the name as well. Our guest today is
very special guest.
A very special guest today. We're very happy to have Margarita Shamrakov. And please tell me if I pronounced it wrong.
It's very nice. I don't even care if you pronounce it wrong. It doesn't matter to me. But
that's
thank
why
you.
I made him do it, because I was going to get it real wrong. Shim didn't come in. So.
Okay, well, and Margarita is. I'll introduce a little bit, of you, and then pass over to you, Margarita. But so Margarita's a musician, a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist artist, living in New York City for a number of years now, but originally from Ukraine. Margarita is a sort of another one of our guests where I've known her probably a couple of years now, but just via email and instant message or, whatever. We've never actually spoken with one another. So this is really fun for both of us, I think, to put faces and voices to our names. And anyway, so Margarita's been on my blog a few times, and I've wanted to have her on the show. We just started the show a month ago or so anyway, Margarita. But anyway, and I wanted to, and so that was like kind of she was on a list of people I intended to ask. And then of course the war in Ukraine happened. So, we thought maybe it was best to give Margarita a call early. So, yeah. So there you go. So that's why we're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about Margarita's music, but I know that she wants to, focus on the war in Ukraine as does everyone in the world, really. So I think that's probably.
Well, I don't want to focus on it. I want it to be over, so I don't have to focus on it. But unfortunately, still think. So we have to focus on it because it's relevant and matters.
That's exactly right. So anyway, hello, Margarita. say hello to us.
Kilo, is that right? Am I pronouncing?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's so nice Kilo House. It's so nice to be here, guys.
It is wonderful to have you. We really were hoping you were going to say yes. We were, every guest we ask, we're always like kind of shy. We're like, I don't know if they're going to say yes, but we'll ask them anyway. So this is a very important one for us, because to see your point of view and see how it's affected you, because our audience has seen how it affected me, but I'm not from there. So It's like we wanted to see it from an insider's point of view too. So anyway.
Exactly. And just real quickly, again, by way of introduction, did I get everything right, Margarita? I mean, I just said
you gave me more than I deserve, so it's fine.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. Good. All right.
So originally we had planned on mainly making this about music, because we did not want to bring it into a realm where all we focused on was the Ukraine thing, because we didn't want her to feel like that was the only reason she was here. But she has, in email, told us like she does want to talk about it. So luckily we get to do that. But the first little bit of this, we're going to talk about her music and kind of promote that idea and stuff. So let's get started. Let's hear like when you really started being interested in music. Like, what was your introduction in life to music like? Like, what music did your parents show you or whatnot?
Thank you. I think when I was a little kid in Ukraine, actually, my mom made me like take lessons. I wasn't really interested in it too much, to be honest with you. But I think it's more like it became like a little bit like escape for me, because I felt like, I don't know, something happened where I started feeling like things like on a deeper level, like as a kid. And maybe I didn't even have maybe like friends that I could talk about these things. Even my parents, I couldn't talk about things like that I was feeling, or like the way I thought about things. So it's kind of like, I think sense of loneliness made me bond with music. Like it just
Very
kind of,
cool.
yeah.
Very, very cool. So when you started off, you said you took lessons. What
I took lessons, yeah, piano.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're like a beautiful piano player. It's like a
thank you.
classic. Well, you're fantastic, and a lot of classical and jazz mixed in
Yes,
with your pop.
yes, yes.
It's really
Influence
cool.
is correct, yes.
And the crazy
But-
mix, I love it.
But I just want to say my dad is a musician and my mom is a musician.
Oh, nice.
So my mom is an opera singer. She passed away from cancer 5 years ago. And my dad is a songwriter, composer. I'm not close with him, but he's a very, very talented, I would think he's a genius, sort of like a very talented person. But, it's like music could be like also a curse. He's just like, he wouldn't even like see his kids because he is working on music. So it's that kind of, yeah.
That's cool. So it's kind of in your bloodline, like in your genes. You just kind of have music.
I guess, and none of my parents wanted me to be a musician. Yes.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You would think a parent that's a musician would be like, I hope my kid is a musician, because I always think like, because I'm a musician and been like a musician most of my life, my kid is going to end up being like a math genius or something completely different. Like I'm like, I don't know, if I have kids, they're going to be like, a nerd, and they're going to be really smart into things that I don't know anything about. So that's funny to hear that. So when Bob showed me your music, I noticed that, you do a lot of different genres. You do like electro pop type of stuff, jazz type of things. Can you kind of tell us, like, what do you think? When you think of your music, what would you categorize it as?
I think, so I think I'm still searching. So I'm still like, especially like, so it was like one way before I had a daughter, and then I had a daughter, and, I actually had to get a full-time job, and I actually have a full-time job because I have to support my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so things are changing, and I think I'm changing, and so I'm still in the like transition area. So I don't think I haven't yet, I think, arrived yet where I'm going. So you kind of caught me in the moment of transition.
Oh, cool. Well, me and Bob just talked about something like that yesterday. We were talking about, I have no idea what we were talking about, but we were talking about how, like, not becoming very steadfast in how you act or your beliefs, being very changing throughout life is like the appropriate way to be. And I think that translates over to me. Did I say that right, Bob? I did not say that right.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that the idea, like what we were talking about yesterday, was this notion of, you're changing. So Kilo and I are different. We're all different ages, obviously. And I'm 51 years old. And I was talking about how when I was 20 and I was 30 and I was 50, I mean, it was very different people. They had different priorities, different, motivations, and different, and as an artist and as a human being and everything. So, I mean, it's just, it would be unhealthy if you stayed in one place,
right.
to stagnate as a person. I mean, to stay
right.
Just, so you're better. Yeah.
I think what we were talking about was,
way to go.
We were talking about the fact that this war is bothering me and other wars did not. That's what we were talking about.
Right.
So
that's right. Why?
It's actually very healthy as an artist to not become stagnant and go, this is all I write. So, you were saying you're kind of finding yourself or whatever, and that's great. But don't ever go, well, this is all I'm going to do. Because when I started doing EDM, I did big room house. I did not do the music I do right now. And it's still changing because my newer stuff, because I don't know if I mentioned this to the audience when I talked about writing that song, but I'm going to be writing songs throughout this whole war that hopefully ends soon. But I'm going to be kind of, how do I explain this? Like just putting pinpoints in what exactly is going on. So someday, not 100 years, but like 50 years down the road, someone's listening to my music, they realize like this is literally just kind of showing the process of what happened. So, I mean, but that point being that album is very different than what I usually write. It's way more hard style. It's not trap and stuff. it has a very aggressive vibe, even though all my music is aggressive. But like, point being, it's cool that you just said that, because it's like nobody as an artist should become like stagnant and just sitting there like, I know who I am, I know what I write, so actually maybe you don't need to find, what they say in EDM is find your sound, right? Well, fuck that, who cares?
Right. Well, just you just could grow
if
into
you write
whatever
it, it's
sound
going
you
to
have.
sound like you, because you're going to go about it the way you go about it. Your heart is going to be in it. And so, I mean, that's dope that you brought that up.
Right
I really
on.
like it.
So, Akila, you mentioned your song, the "Glory to Ukraine," and and I know that Margarita, I know you would like to to move into that subject. I think probably talk about Ukraine now.
Sure.
So, and so far, we just are but we're saying our experience,
How
if
dare
we're
you.
seeing it, not, yes, you know what I mean. Saying we're talking about our experience of
Right.
seeing the war from our perspective. So what is yours? Tell us, what.
Sure. So I tell you this. So there's like a lot of different information, and it's hard sometimes to really tell what's real, what's fake, what's like. But it was hard for me because I'm really biased towards Ukraine, but I do watch Russian TV, and I watched Russian channels, and it was hard for me. But I just wanted to know what they say, and I also watch Ukrainian channels on YouTube, and I also watch like CNN and MSNBC and like Pentagon, like live streaming. So I've been watching all of them, and and I was also watched like two scholars. One was talking about Putin. She wrote a book about Putin, and the other scholars were talking about Ukraine and Russia, and they foresee this situation actually a long time ago.
Right.
I didn't know. These were like scholars from Chicago, like from the university, like professors. So,
Right.
so apparently this has been going on. So I think this like, it's a very complex, like there's so many like pieces, like but so I can't even like, even to how do you say, like open Pandora's box and trying to figure out. But I do know, people are dying, and I'm just,
Right.
That's kind of the main, and these are innocent people. And I always feel like, why innocent people have to suffer? Like, I do have relatives in Ukraine. So some of them, the ones that lived by Carpathian Mountains, they left to Poland right away. I have cousins that live in the city called Dnipro. They do not want to leave because they have parents there, and they feel like they can't leave their parents. I have another relative in Ukraine. Her husband is sick. He just won't be able to even walk to the border, or like even if they take him by car, there's no cars, right now. Like
Right.
he won't be able to physically because he's sick. So she's staying. I have one friend who's a singer. Her name is Katya Chili. She's like a very famous singer in Ukraine. Actually, we were classmates. She's staying because she, her position is sort of like fight no matter what. And another girl in Ukraine also, she's staying because of her parents. And I think people are still in shock. So, like how there's some people that like, the war started and they just like, okay, we're leaving. And there's some people like, that can't be happening. That's like, that, and that's kind of like I am. Like, I think I would be slow to act because nobody believed it. And I remember like when CNN said like, there's troops around Ukraine and there's more and more and more troops. I actually called my relatives and I said, there's more troops. That's what CNN is reporting. And they were like, no, they just do an exercise. They're like, there's no way they're going to go to Ukraine. Like, what did they don't need anything here. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And also it doesn't make any sense because everybody has Russian mom, Ukrainian father, Russian grandma, Ukrainian grandpa. Like you could be living in Moscow and you have relatives in Russia, relatives in Ukraine. And that's why it doesn't make any sense. And we also speak the same language. Now, that also doesn't make any sense. Like it it's kind of like literally like brothers killing brother. And
I was going to say
reason.
the way you describe it is it's like the American Civil War. That was what they called it. It was brother against brother, because it was the same thing. You know, it was people in the North and the South. I mean, you know, everybody have cousins up in the North and the South.
You have like the daughter there and the father there, and you just like fighting against each other. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, I know Russians are fighting very brutally. That's correct. And but what's interesting, I watched Russian channels. They saying that it's a humanitarian operations to save Ukraine from fascism. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what are they talking about? Like, what fascism? And you know, like I am 50% Ashkenazi Jew and 50% like Western Ukrainian. So my relatives on my father's Jewish side, they like, you know, they've had a lot of anti-Semitism also in Ukraine. So I'm not going to say like Ukraine is a perfect country and everybody's no, there's like bad people everywhere, but like to bomb the whole country because there's some people that are like,
and I mean,
like, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, we have in the United States Hitler worshippers. We're not going to bomb the whole country. Like, basically, it doesn't make sense what they're saying. And they're saying they're saving Ukrainian people. And my friend, actually, their whole families, they're all musicians. The father, the mother, singers, and their daughter is a singer. And she posted like a picture from like I don't know how to say it in English, like a hiding where they're hiding from the bombs, like a
bomb shelter.
Bomb shelter, yeah. And she said, she like cursed. She's like, can you please fucking stop saving us? Like, you know, because like it doesn't stop. We don't need you saving us, you know, like they just like the so there's a lot of I'm very worried. I think I'm very worried about World War III, and I'm very worried because I don't see any. I don't know. Like I'm trying to find like the way it's gonna.
That's the thing. The World War III thing is a great concern, especially like, you know, when Keel and I were just talking about how just yesterday they were just a few miles away from the border of Poland. That's World War III. If Russia hits any land in Poland, I mean that's NATO land. That's
right.
You
know, that's a bad scene. So
it's a very bad scene. I don't know how to. You know, I hope that I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna. You know, it doesn't make any sense at all. And also, like Ukraine is not a threat to Russia. Like. You know,
to anyone. I mean, were they causing such threat? That's the thing, you know, and it's.
And I just and the only thing, you know, like, and I saw this other woman. She was on the Russian TV. She was like a part of like a Gosduma in Russian government. It's like a lower government. Basically, they check if the government is doing a good job, if the government, they approve of the government, they choose humanitarian, like are they doing humanitarian? Like, so if they're doing like a kind of like a study of the Russian government, so they're lower level a little bit. And she, you know, she had an interview at the Russian TV, and she had this sign like Z, I think it's like this new war. And they asked her like, what does it stand for? And she's like, I don't know. And she's like wearing this sign, and she's like, we're saving Ukraine from fascism. And the lady said, well, tell us about this fascism. Well, she's like, you know, in Ukraine schools and universities, you cannot speak Russian. You can only speak Ukrainian. Okay, well, maybe that's not right. And maybe that's an inconvenience. And my first language is Russian, and I'm Western Ukrainian. So my grandma spoke Ukrainian, but I spoke Russian. And when I was in Soviet Union, they converted my schools in Ukrainian, and it was very, very hard. It was very inconvenient and hard, but it has nothing like, that's not fashion. That's like a stretch from fashion. You know what I mean? Saying, maybe that's not correct that they're making everybody speak Ukrainian, whatever. Like that's inconvenient, but nobody, you know, in Crimea, they made my friend speak Ukrainian when she was there. Like she was still there. And one of my best friends, and she was complaining about that. And she's like, oh, they made us speak Ukrainian. We don't want to speak Ukrainian. And so, but that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that was her argument that they made. Like,
that is not a reason to invade a country
and to kill people. Like what? Like, I don't know. Like, and she said, and she talks like this about it, and she wears this sign that she doesn't even know what it means.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
And I'm like, you're part of the Russian government. Like, what? Like, people are dying. Like, I'm just like confused. Like,
you know what feels like fascism is that Z. That's fascism. Whatever their weird little cult, they're a huge cult they're creating there. That's weird cult. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's an excuse on his part to do whatever the fuck he wants. Right? I think that it is not necessarily about that, but that was a good reason for him to say that they're doing this. Right? They're liberating or whatever the fuck.
It was a reason. I mean, the thing about Putin, he doesn't really care about how the quality of his reasons. He just says
right?
them.
Because Zelensky is a Jew, right? So it's a Nazi Jew. Okay,
it doesn't make any
sense. He's Jewish. Zelensky is Jewish.
That's what that's what Kilo is saying, is that it doesn't make any sense.
Right. It's like, if you just fucking open your eyes and look at it, it's like, no, it's clearly not that. I don't know necessarily if Putin kind of thinks that everybody is a Nazi and that's why he did it. I don't know, because I don't speak crazy. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I feel like that's kind of a cop-out excuse to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
I don't think he thinks that. I don't think he thinks that Ukraine. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he does think that.
I don't think he. Yeah, I don't think he cares. I think. I mean, he's got, like, I want that. So here's a bunch of reasons that we're going to put out in the news to tell everybody why we're doing what I want to do. But it's not the reason. And he doesn't care that his explanation doesn't make sense. He's proven that over and over again.
It's like, and also like, like I also watched like some of the Russian like young people. They were asking like young people like in their 20s, some of the interviews, and I think a lot of like young generations, they don't understand this war at all. Like, in fact, like none of them want to go to, like, it's like the like how in the past like people felt like this is my land, and they were like now young people, they just want to like live and enjoy life. Like, I don't think they don't even, so like a lot of young people don't support the war and in Russia, and also, but the older people, like, like they, now you can't watch Russian TV on YouTube or anywhere. They blocked it, and Russia blocked any kind of, so they can only watch Russian TV, and it's kind of
if
weird.
You have a VPN though, you can just
VPN, yes. But like if you, I'm talking about like people that are 60s, 70s, like in Russia, and they don't know what computer is. They have a TV.
Right. Yeah, I'm like Putin is fucking dumb to think that there aren't people out there that's using just everyone. I mean, my friend who I used to play Need for Speed with all the time every night. I mean, he doesn't necessarily play anymore because of this whole thing. He's Russian. But I can still talk to him because he still uses the app to talk to me. And he's like, I'm just using a VPN. Like, it's like, for him to think that blocking it is going to block it for real in this day and age shows how dumb he is. Just like when he used the green screen and he fucking passed his hand right through the microphone. Like, it's like that interview where he had a bunch of people with him. He didn't have anybody with him. Luckily enough, the Ukrainian YouTube was the first one to point out that he was like faking it completely. And then Zelensky's such a badass that he, after one of his interviews, he kind of looked at the camera and pushed the mic away. Like, hey, dumbass, like, this is what it looks like when it's a real mic. But it's like shows whether or not Bob will say technically Putin is smart. I disagree, but that's okay. But it shows how behind the times of what actual reality is like he is. For him to think, I can just block everything. Yes, 20 years ago, you can do that. Nowadays, I have a VPN right on my fucking phone. Like, that you don't even have to download it. It's just in your phone, and you just put in a code, and your phone is now able to do whatever you want. So it's like, does he not realize that's the thing, or does he not care?
Well, I don't think. Yeah, well, I think he doesn't care, and I don't think it matters. Like, it's like we were talking the other day. I mean, you can't apply logic to an illogical person. You can't apply rational thought to the irrational person. So either whatever that crazy bastard's going to do, he's going to do, and we're not going to understand it. And if we did understand it, would probably be something wrong with us.
This time, though, I mean, I am just overly inspired by the Ukrainian people. Like, I'm not going to tear up, and you won't know because I have glasses on. But like the fact that they're able to stand up to a country that the whole world was afraid of 2 weeks ago, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's
like,
amazing.
2 weeks ago, Russia was the king honcho of everything, right? They were like, if they threaten you, like, you're afraid. And this little country that not to be like make myself sound like an idiot, but I kind of thought Ukraine was just a place in Russia up until 2 weeks ago, and then
that gets confusing because when you talk about Russia or the Soviet Union owned most of Eastern Europe. You know what I mean? So Ukraine and Poland, all these places were part of the Soviet Union at one point or another.
But to see them just suddenly be like, how about no? Like my dad very much emphasized to me when I was writing that song, like, you better write it very fast and write it now because they're going to be just annihilated just immediately. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It's just like that's being true. in my situation of life, being in a wheelchair most of my life, or all of my life. I said most of my life, whatever. Being in a wheelchair all of my life and having other health problems and the things that I've been through in my life, like, I do not get very much inspired by people I don't like. There's not very many people to look up to, right? Because I'm like, well, cool, you're a good basketball player, but you can walk, type of thing. I didn't have heroes.
Yeah.
Now a whole fucking country is my hero because it's like you literally looked at these people and said, no, you're not just going to take my country. How about just fuck off? So, I mean, that's just so inspiring to someone like me who's like fought shit my whole life to see them literally fighting people who some people didn't even know how to fire a gun or anything, and now they're making Molotov cocktails in the fucking streets and just saying, go fuck yourself. Pardon my language, but I don't do shit. Like, that's amazing to me. So just had to get that out there, like,
right on, man.
It is amazing. I love, obviously, I want Ukraine to win, but, like, sometimes I watch and it's sad to me because when, like, I watch, like, on American TV and they talk about it, it's like, and they, like, talk about, like, also that they're going to take eventually Ukraine, and it just makes me very sad. I hope not. And I also feel like we're not really helping. Yeah, we do sanctions, but we're not really helping. I understand why, because we don't want to go to World War III.
I want that to happen, but that's okay. I say fuck him. I say, just because you said it again, I'm going to bring up my stance on World War III. You can't let a bully be a bully forever. If he gets away with it now, he's going to try it again and again until someone decides to start World War III. So I understand you don't want to die, and that's understandable to me, but I am willing to take that sacrifice to stop someone that thinks they can get away with everything. Like I wrote that song because, like, I would have been there helping immediately if I could walk. If I wasn't in this situation, I probably may have been dead by now, but that's fine with me completely, because you can't let a bully be a bully. Someone has to just stand up and say, go fuck yourself. And I mean, yes, I agree. I'm kind of upset that our country hasn't done that, and just been like, how about no? But, like, at the same time, I understand maybe they know more information than we do. Right?
I'm hoping, that's what I'm hoping, that they're doing something behind closed doors that we don't know, and that's like my hope. But it's hard to watch because he's like, people are dying, and just it's hard to watch. Yeah.
Coming from someone who never watches the news, I don't watch the news ever until now, and being like, in a situation where now I feel an obligation to watch this horrifical stuff so that I can write songs and kind of do what we talked about in the beginning of the show. Like, for instance, when I wrote GLØRY TØ UKRAiNE, I had to listen to a bunch of his like press conferences or whatever to be able,
Yeah.
which that was very hard, putting in a language you don't know into a song and I had to get a translator to translate it and make sure I put the right words in there and everything like that. But like that was taxing on me to have to listen over and over to all this horrific stuff.
Oh yeah, like emotionally taxing. I could see
Oh
that.
yeah, being someone who doesn't listen to the news because I know that it is the news in our country, especially, it's geared to kind of create a drama, right? So if you listen to like the Ukrainian YouTube and stuff like that, like, well, I'm sure we'll leave a link in the bio of the YouTube I watched. That's like, I think it's the Ukrainian government YouTube. So I get to see all the press briefings throughout the day and stuff. Their story is a little bit different. It's not as dramatic. Sometimes it is, absolutely, but you don't hear like the whole like they're right at the gates of Kyiv, like over and over. They're fucking
with the music that scares you. Yeah.
Right. It's like they're telling the real story, which is like we've stopped the tanks, great job, like all this stuff. Like the news is just geared towards that, but it was just very hard for me to have to listen to that. And it caught me, even me. It caught me. I started being like doomsday fucking mindset, and then I had to realize, wait, like this is what's really happening. This is what the news is telling us. It's the marketing thing. It's a genius marketing thing to make people watch it because they got to see what's happening next. But it's like eventually you're like, wait, so they've been right. They're coming in right now for a week. Like, I don't think that's right, which is not right. Just in case nobody that's watching this realizes that's not right. Like the Ukraine has done a great job. It's like taking a high school football team and putting them against, the Los Angeles Rams right now, and then Los Angeles Rams are struggling. Like, wait, how that's supposed to go? They're the Super Bowl winners.
They're amazing. Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, they're very, very brave. Very, very brave. But I also think that the motivations, like, I think a lot of the young kids from Russia that are there, they're like 18, 19-year-old boys, and they don't, you know what I mean? Like they don't really want to be in this, like, and they don't even know what they're fighting for. Like they're not like, these are the people that speak the same language, and a lot of them are like saying they were there for exercises. Some of them were like, it's kind of like, but they, I think they were expecting that because they told them that they were saving Ukraine from fascism. A lot of these young soldiers were expecting that they would be greeted with open arms because they saved Ukraine from fascism, and that's not.
It's just not true.
Yeah,
and I think it's interesting along those lines that with the age of the soldiers. One thing you mentioned, Margarita, before was that. Well, you kind of, in summary, you were saying basically like the kind of nationalism is sort of, it's not popular with the youth, right? So that sort of nationalist that the older people are, more, Mother Russia, but the younger generations are, they just want to. They're just like folks here. They just want to chill out, hang out with their friends, go to work, come home.
Go to work. They're not really.
So, and I think I think probably that's not limited to Russia or Ukraine. That's probably true in countries around the world. And I just wonder, to me, that would have a positive impact.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm glad that like the future generation maybe can live together. Like they don't have to like fight and like that. Yeah.
Imagine no countries, right? John Lennon, So.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, but what you were just saying is it's what I think is happening. What is happening is you take kids that think they're practicing, then you throw them into a war they don't want to be at, and then you take the other side who wants their fucking country. They don't want to fucking give it up. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win in that battle? People who don't even want to be doing it, or people who are like, fuck you. Like you take a super pissed off person or someone that's just like, I don't give a shit what's happening, just kind of doing it. Who's gonna win? The super fucking pissed off people are usually gonna win in that instant, in any instance, whether it's football, war, video games, anything. It's usually gonna be the people who are fighting for a reason. and a cause, not because some dumbass wants to be a dumbass.
Right. The thing that surprised me, I mean, in a good way, but it just was, I found remarkable, is how universal that attitude is amongst the Ukrainians. Every person I've seen, I saw an old grandmother making Molotov cocktails. You know what I mean? And you see, teenage girls with Kalashnikovs. You know what I mean? And it's mind blowing. It's to think that everybody says, "Yep, you're right. Let's go." And I mean, that wouldn't happen here. That's for sure. And I don't know where else it would. Like some, it's just a cultural thing in some places, like in like a lot of Asian cultures that sort of like they always say, like when there's a disaster in, say, Japan, there, when the big nuclear meltdown they had. And but still, even when they were evacuating, because of the just cultural norms in Japan, they did it in single file, right? Like that always blew my mind, because and you would think in America people just run and panic and I'm going to get the fuck out of here, and so it just like there's kind of like just. I always notice those cultural differences around the world, like how people just like how sociologically people respond to things, and that's
I have absolutely, and like I have an apartment in Ukraine, and also like I have like my cousin, she has a house in Ukraine, and I'm like, I don't know after the war if anything is going to be left, and if it's even like if the Russia takes over, like who's going to live there? Like I don't know, if I would see it. This is like our family, the house that my cousin has. Like our family had that house for many years. Like our grandparents had that house. Like it's like a family. It's like I grew up there. Like I grew up there. This is the place. Like. I grew up in my, so I went to school there. Like, so it's.
I think that's a good point, Margarita. I don't think Americans don't always understand how old things are in the rest of the world. So like, because my mother is from Ireland, right? And and I've been over a couple times. And I remember when I was like 18 years old, I was over in Ireland. I was hanging out. I was walking along with my grandfather at our family farm. And I just said, I was like, how long has the farm been in the family? And he's like laughed at me. He's just like, how long? He's like, forever, forever in a country that has a history of like 10,000 years. He's like, well, we've always had the farm. And it's, Americans don't realize, because our history only goes back 250 years. We don't know that sort of ingrained family connection. I think
the house is like even belongs to my great grandparents. Like that's how
it's in your soul.
Family. It's like there's like a history. This is ours. Like it's just, there's the language that they speak, and it's just there's so much like I don't understand. Like I mean I don't understand this. I have a hard feeling to comprehend how this could be happening, like in 21st century, where like you just kill people for no reason, like just like
right.
That is true. That is the one thing that this has felt like the 1940s. And how does this happen now?
How does this happen? And it seems like, and when you leave Ukraine, you cannot take, so a relative said that, the one that she has a sick husband, she cannot leave, but it's like, it takes like 3 days because it's like a long journey, but they don't allow you to take anything except your backpack. So you can take a backpack and, your papers, but that's it. One person and a backpack. So you leave your apartment, you leave everything. You don't know if you have I don't know. Like,
and I would
how could you do
highly suggest anyone watching this video right now to just kind of put that in perspective. Look around whatever room you're in or whatever, and think about like if suddenly you thought maybe you were about to get bombed to shit, what the fuck are you gonna grab? Like all those belongings that you have that you care about, you're not going to be able to fit your fucking flat screen TV in there. That's so important. Like that you may be watching this on now. Like,
and it's so inspiring that people take their pets with them. Like, just people
Right.
pets.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I was thinking. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was
There's a
with
story.
Kilo, when you were saying look
Right.
around, I was looking around.
Right.
That's I'm in this room of.
Yeah, you won't be able to take any of that.
This is all my favorite stuff's in
And your
here.
guitars and your
And I
keyboard.
was like, yeah.
I'm sitting
But then
in
I was
like my beautiful studio in LA, and I'm thinking like, wait, like none
Where's
of this
cat?
is going with me. Like my dog, my
Crazy.
laptop, my phone. Like,
Yeah.
and which I'm not a very materialistic person, so that's fine. But I'm sure some of our viewers are, and that's fine too. I have no judgment towards that. That's great. But it's like, you think these things matter so much, but in reality, like if the fucking World War III happened and suddenly we're getting bombed, what are you gonna fucking take with you?
Yeah,
Like-
no, there's nothing to take.
Right? Like none of this shit matters really.
But the thing though is that the details of the stuff doesn't. You're right, doesn't matter.
The
but
memories
but
matter.
yeah. Well, the place, whatever it is that
Right.
you call home,
That was the
what
next
matters.
thing I was gonna say.
There you go.
Yeah.
Once,
Next time you're driving around, like this is an unfortunate reality of my brain at this point because of watching so much new stuff to write these songs. Next time you're driving down the street, which I was driving to the vape store the other day, and I was like driving past these big buildings. Picture driving, and then suddenly a missile hits that building. Like literally, you think like, okay, there's a war going on, whatever. But then I'm talking about the video where the missile hits the apartment building, which luckily no one died. But like that really affected me because I'm looking at buildings that look very, very fucking similar to that and thinking, what if a missile just hits that building? Like I want our audience to put this into perspective, that this is not a civil war in like some African country or something where it's like not developed. It's like you driving down the street and then hearing alarms going off and then a fucking building blowing, like getting bombed, or a hospital. I don't like talking about that, but like
that always strikes me actually is when you see people driving their cars on when there's you'll see a bombing or something, and there's right before it there's people just living their lives, and like that is the most heartbreaking thing. I mean, they're just literally going to the store or whatever, and then a building blows up, and it's just terrifying.
Yeah, your apartment that meant something to you because you've lived there for. I've only lived in this apartment, specific one, like a year and a half or a year, and it's like I still love it, and it's considered.
I understand. My apartment in Ukraine is the apartment where I grew up with my grandma. So my grandmother raised me, and she raised me in that apartment, and it's like my whole childhood and my youth were spent there.
Yeah, and I hope that I'm wrong when I say I don't feel like very many people in our country put that into perspective. I hope I'm the wrong one, that they do put it in perspective. But please, people watching this, if you don't put it in perspective, just try thinking that you want to go home tonight and your apartment or house that you care about, even if it's not the biggest, nicest place, that's your place that you remember raising your kids, or like, meeting, having your first date. Like, and it is literally on fire or bombed to shit. That's what people are going through. In real life.
And I don't even care about the apartment, but it's like, for me, it's like, it's like, I feel like my grandma's spirit is there, and I just like.
What city is your apartment?
It's in Dnipro. It's in Dnipro. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of, there are some bombs they hear but it's a little bit quiet there, but I don't know. And a lot of also my friends are in Kiev, and Kiev is, I try to tell my friends information because sometimes in Ukraine, I feel like when I watch Ukrainian channels, like they say like we're winning and we're doing great. And then I watch US channels and they're like, well, Russian army is surrounding Kiev. So I call my friends and I try to tell them, well, there's a news that the second attack is coming. Just want to, because and I'm not saying like, Ukrainian channels are saying it wrong, but it's just like, I want to give them like as much information from all sides so they can decide what to do. I was like, and I told him, I was like, pack your bags, pack, like everything has to be ready just in case. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, the people are so inspiring, and the stories are so amazing that they're considered maybe even myth until it's proven, like the ghost of Kiev. Like, that is a real person, but yet my dad showed me the article saying, like, this is probably just a myth that someone put out there to make the people of Ukraine have hope. And then come to find out, I mean, I just barely wrote a song about him. No, I don't write lyrics, so it's just more of a visual journey, but it's like the album art I've been questioning is a picture of a real person, the real person. Yet these stories are so amazing that it's like, you think it couldn't be true. That could not be the case. Or like the funny videos where they're stealing the tanks with the tractors. Like, do you think an American would do that? I don't think so. I think they'd be like, oh, fuck, that's a tank. I'm going to go run away now. You know, like, it's just like those big fucking balls just get me. It's like emotional in a good way. It's like you're normal people that are just saying, fuck off. Like, get out of my country, go away. And I'm just like inspired by that to this moment, to the moment before the show when I was watching stuff on the news, you know, because I'm constantly working on music regardless of this. And then once this happened, I was like, cool, this is something I can actually have a good positive impact, because my music, even before now, is like it was horror movie based. So I used horror movie samples and wrote very dark stuff, wanting to make people happy, because I'm a very happy person, as our audience knows. But like now I feel like finally, like I can use that aggressive nature of my music for a good cause, that people, I won't have to sit there and explain in interviews like I've done in the past. No, I'm not a weird, dark person. I'm actually very happy because I'm writing music that needs to have a little bit of an aggressive nature. So it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. So anyways.
Actually, that, that reminds me of Margarita. In any of this, have you turned to music? Have you been writing, at all?
I've been very, very depressed. So I don't know, like I'm like just a little bit, I kind of like lost interest in anything. So I hope I kind of like stopped living a little bit. But I hope just kind of like, I feel like, how can I go on if there's people dying? So like, I feel like guilty too, and just been like really, really sad. And then just like, I don't know what's going to happen to my family. And also like talking to them, and like, you can't really help them. And I feel like helpless, just kind of, so sorry.
Yeah, I know I understand. The only thing I was thinking is normally in Kilo and I have this conversation, but between him talking about how the war is affecting him and me kind of pepping him up a little bit and giving my little Zen sort of like hippie perspective on it, and I was just thinking while you were talking, I'm like, that works when I'm talking to Kilo, because Kilo doesn't have, family that are in harm's way, that are in Ukraine. That's why I go like.
But I also think people deal differently with grief, and that's fine if you turn to music. Like, I think for me, it's like, first it's like, I don't know, like I have to. I just like kind of like have to go. Like, I actually took off from work because I couldn't work, like I couldn't focus. All I did was just like watch the news and just trying to communicate, and just being kind of helpless. I just feel like sad sometimes. No, I feel very sad because like of all the government decides, and then like just the people like us, we die, or like there's some people at the top decide our fate.
Right.
I mean, just to be honest, Bob, on your point, like, trust me, it didn't really help when you talked about it like that. No, wait, just wait.
I understand, yeah.
But I felt an obligation, right? Like, if I wrote happy music all the time, I wouldn't feel that way, right? But I felt an obligation being an artist.
It's very, like, I want to say, like, a lot of people like reached out to me, and also a lot of people, and Ukrainian people definitely feel that, like the support from the whole world. I mean, it seems like the whole world is not the whole world is feeling like this is crazy. This is insanity. Like everywhere, just like everywhere, people feel that, and it's amazing. I think Ukrainian people definitely feel that. I spoke to my friends, and they were like, the whole world is like, they feel it. They feel
That's
it.
awesome.
For sure.
I mean, I've slept like very few hours since it started. Like at the first week and a half, I slept maybe fucking 6 hours. In that week and a half, it was 6 hours. Like I would stay up for 2.5 days at a time because it was so bothered, you know? So it's not that his speech gave me like, I should write music now. It was like, I feel obligated to do whatever I can.
Right on, man.
I understand. Yeah.
So, yeah. And even though I'm not there and I'm not Ukrainian, it's like, I'm still a human, and we're all, everybody watching this show, probably most of you are not Ukrainian, but you're still a human. And this is happening to humanity.
And that's like your response is amazing. And that's why like I'm so confused that people in Russia are not like, I mean, I know that there's like a very severe punishment. I mean, there is they say like if they put them in jail like for 15, 20 years, but I don't know, like, I don't know, like, why can't like all of the people of Russia just like get up? Like,
yeah, I know that.
I don't know if it's possible. But it's like, they definitely have like, I think like 7,000 people already arrested in Russia.
Right.
I heard that as well.
Thousands of people have just left their homes in Russia and gone and lived in Poland and stuff. Like they're just...
Yes, that's a lot of famous Russian people left their homes, yes.
They're just like, nope, I'm just not even doing this. Because I just want to point out an unfortunate thing. It's made me have to battle me being angry at Russian people that I know have nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Me too. I believe me too. I know they have nothing to do with it. And I feel, and these sanctions that they're doing, they're going to affect the poorest people of Russia.
Right.
Like those are the people that are going to be affected by the most. And it's like, like the billionaires, they sanction them, but like people like billionaires, they have money. Like I just feel like they're above, they always have money somewhere. Like it just, and it's very sad to me, but it's like, I understand, like, we're trying to put some pressure like on people, and it's very complex. I understand exactly what you're saying. It's like, I feel for everyone, and there's, the regular people suffer. There's already like 9,000 Russian soldiers are dead. Like that, and these are young guys. These are like young. Some of them are like, were born in 2021. I mean, sorry, not 2021, 2001, 2002, 2000. Like these are like young kids.
Yeah. I have an 18-year-old kid. I mean, trust me, I know how young that is.
It doesn't make
crazy.
sense. Like it's crazy. And for what? Like there's no point. Like there's no meaning to this. Like I don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something Bob on one of our last podcasts when he was interviewing me about writing the song was always referring to it as a war of choice, which I thought was very interesting. But I think the news has said that as well. But it's like, you just chose to do this.
You just I'm gonna just do this just because I feel like it.
Exactly.
But luckily, at least let's say something positive to the show right now. He's not just decimating everything and getting away with it. Like it is doing something.
I really hope so. Like I'm really hoping there's a way. Like I just don't know how, like, and it seems like nobody knows. Like, I mean, or that's what they tell us on the news. Like, but everywhere I go, it's just like there's no solution.
I agree. To your point earlier, Margarita, when you were talking about the people of Russia, like, and you do think, like, why doesn't, if everybody just rose up and said, we're against this, then they could just, storm the castle, get Putin out of there, and get, start over. But that is, I mean, I thought that too, right? But I mean, that doesn't, that's why I was saying I was so surprised by the unity of the response from the people of Ukraine, because people don't act like that. You know, people don't don't think with one mind.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point.
Exactly right.
You know, like the whole time Trump was in office, every time I saw any stupid Trump thing, and I apologize to anyone if they disagree with me, but not too much. But you see, driving along, you see one of those signs. I'd always think, God damn it, how could they possibly want to put a Trump sign in the front yard? What about that appeals to that person in that house? You know. And, you know, and it always surprised me. But then you look at the polls, you look at the votes, and, you know, a good 40% of the people in the country still would vote for that guy, you know. So people don't act the way you expect them to, and people don't act together. You know what I mean? That's why Ukraine is such a surprise, I think, you know.
Well,
And it's just crazy.
Even to that point, the fascist people of Ukraine, like the little small, like whatever, I don't know how
that exists in Russia too. Like, you know, that's that exists everywhere. Like, it's like we have in the United States white supremacists. That's like always. But, you know, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I just real fast, so I want to hear your point. My point being, guess who's fighting with the Ukrainians now on helping Zelensky and stuff? The exact people that Putin says he was trying to get out of there, the fascist people have said, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I'm going. The people who wanted to assassinate Zelensky are now helping him survive.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you fucked up if you're making the people who you are saying you want out of there now help the people who they hated before. Bob said a saying, which is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or some shit.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Guess what?
That's the old saying.
Even people who didn't vote for him, didn't give a shit about him, is helping the cause. Even I guess I've heard the old president who the people kind of ran out of town came back to fight with Ukraine. Like, you know, you fucked up when shit like this is going down. You did all the way.
When you have to actually ask, oh, China, can you help me with soldiers? Oh, can you guys help me with soldiers? Like, and people actually volunteer to go to Ukraine to fight. You know, when Putin is reaching out to China now, asking China to help with the war.
When people like me would be over there fighting right now with nobody asking me to. Keep having to, like,
and there are a lot of people doing that.
Really want, like, I am a weird case study because I'm kind of a weird, brave person, but it's like, put that in perspective. It's a country I didn't know was a country until recently. I thought it was a part of Russia, and yet I would be there right now fighting, and yet he's having to beg and plead with his quote-unquote best friend to send people to fight. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how you win that war.
I was in Ukraine with Soviet Union. It was 15 countries together. Ukraine was still a separate country. It was just Soviet Union, which means 15 countries together. But Ukraine was still a separate country. I don't know much. I'm not going to go, like, I'm studying like about history, like all the way backwards, but all the way back, sorry. But this is like 1980, like Ukraine was a separate country, but we were part of Soviet Union. The main language was Russian. And we had like one president, sort of like one main president, and then each country had their own president. So I don't like, you know, and then when the Soviet Union separated, Ukraine was still a country. So it's like when Putin says Ukraine is not even a real country, like that I don't know, you know, like.
Well, because he's delusional, because in his mind, he is, you know, I mean, he was a high level KGB agent in the Soviet Union.
Correct. And also, you know,
he wants it back, you know.
And yes, so I just wanted to say, so I'm watching this like guy on YouTube. His name is Yuri Shvets, and he's in Russian. So he used to be with Putin in the same school. They were both studying to be KGB spies.
Right.
So he knows Putin, and he also has connections. And you know, when Putin was in school, you know, studying to be a spy, like they gave him like a nickname that he was a pale moth, because he was somebody who was very quiet, like very kind of like you never knew what he was thinking, and almost like invisible person. Like, he was not, and it's just like, yes, he rose to power also by the FSB, the FSB, the organization that Putin was ahead of. They blew up 2 buildings in, I believe I don't know but in Russia. Right. And then Putin said, we're going to fight those terrorists. And the whole country felt like, wow, like, and so that's how he became the president.
It was like he actually faked the whole thing.
But it was his people that blew up those buildings.
Right. Yeah, I'd heard that before too. I forgot the details of it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Definitely, it's true. They investigated very thoroughly, and he also, at one point, he was also before the FSB. His job was to be in charge of distributing food, kind of like charity, to the neighborhoods in Russia that were very, very poor. So the Russian government, I guess from the charities, they got like $100,000, and his job was to distribute food between the poorest neighborhoods. Putin pocketed those money, and he got caught. They caught him, and somehow he didn't get punished because of the deal that he signed, but it's all well documented. So just think about it, like if he doesn't care about his people, if some of his people are dying and he pockets the money, like that tells you a lot, and he builds up building with people in them. Yeah.
And the fact that he's still in office right now is evident. No, it's evidence more of his corruption, because I remember when he was inaugurated. I remember when he took off. It was January 1st, 2000. It was the beginning of the millennium, and he took office as president, and he had term limits. So before the end of his term, he changed the government around to make the prime minister the most powerful role. And then he took that job and then put his friend in the president's role. By the way,
that guy Medvedev, he had no power when he was a president. It was all Putin.
Exactly. So
I've heard like from the Russians, some politicians, they said that Medvedev could have took the power seriously. Like he could have taken that moment and said, but he was just like a puppet. Yeah.
He's afraid. Everybody's afraid. The guy's a psycho.
Also, like the Yuri Shvets, like, the guy that studied, like he has basically Putin for 2 years. He lives in the bunker. Like nobody sees him. He lives in the bunker. His family is in the bunker in Altai. It's like a whole city underground. That's where his family is. And it's a very,
that's crazy.
You can't, like, it's very hard to actually get to him. Like he has like tons of bodyguards, and he doesn't see, basically very few people see him.
Well, it also explains how he could so easily just look at a map and think of people as just dots on a map and lines on a map. You know what I mean? Because he's buried under the ground, disconnected from humanity on purpose. So he has no idea what other people are,
I didn't even know that there could be cities like underground. Like
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Did you guys ever there's also like, if you Google it, there's like in the United States, there's a bunch of like ready cities underground. Like if during the nuclear war, all the rich people will go there and we will die.
Well, what are you going to do?
If we're going to die, we're going to die. It's okay. Yeah, really. I mean, it's not okay, but it's like, it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. I hope watching our show has not made anybody have to stay up at night.
I'm sorry. I'm staying positive. I mean, I do believe in good. Like after all this, I believe in good. I think there must be a way to take him out. There must be a way around this. Like I think we're all like all the people of the world are smart enough. I think we'll figure something out. I really do.
Once you piss off the whole fucking world, it's not like, because I heard a thing, which may not be true, but like that he had actually already written like a press briefing right when it started of "We won the war." Right?
He does pre-reports all his briefings. That's correct. He does pre-reports a lot of his briefings.
That's what's making the people of his country realize maybe he's full of shit, because it did come out already, and then he didn't win, and it wasn't like that, and we're still fighting to the day we're recording this video. And it's like, damn, like he literally like did not expect it to go this way. He didn't expect he wasn't prepared for the entire world to be against him, or he wouldn't send people out with 4-year-old rations, guns that didn't work right, because Ukrainian soldiers said, like, on their YouTube channel, like, that they would, like, once they kind of took care of the business, like, they'd go and, like, get the weapons, and they didn't work half the time. Like, you're not going to send people into a country with no food and not working weapons if you realize the entire world is going to...
But I'll tell you this, like, I've lived in Ukraine, and I mean, I've immigrated 27, so this is I immigrated 27 years ago. So I'll tell you this, I knew that Ukrainians will fight to death. Like, I know people that live there, and to me, it's actually shocking because Putin has a lot of intel, and actually during even like when I was living there and Soviet Union separated, the president that they put in Ukraine, like, it was connected, like the Russia knew all the intel. So for them not to know, like, it's a little bit confusing. Where does the information break down? Because like I'm just confused that he didn't know that, you know, it's, somewhere the information breaks down.
Well,
because they have intel. They have spies everywhere. So it's like,
well, it's like I was saying before, though, you can't expect an irrational person to think rationally. You're saying logically he should have known because he had all this information. And he is, and this is where Keel and I were talking the other day, and I was like, he's clearly an intelligent man in that he's, achieved all these things through his cunning, his
manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, exactly. He's able to manipulate people, and that in itself is a form of intelligence.
Correct. Yeah.
But he's not rational, and he gets all this information. He might be able to understand it, but he's got the crazy thing thrown in there. So now he's going to interpret it any way he wants.
Or they don't tell him, or really they don't tell him.
Because they're afraid of him.
Because they're afraid of him.
I did hear that whoever would be in responsibility to tell him what's going on for real, they said on the news that they would rather overthrow him before they would rather give him bad news and say how bad things are. So possibly when he said, finally saying like, we're losing some soldiers and like 100, which is way more than that, possibly that is the intel he's getting. Because they're more afraid to tell him the truth than to tell him and have him do whatever the fuck he's going to do. So possibly that is where it's breaking down.
But I am just shocked. How could Russian government, like, one man and everybody's afraid of him? I don't understand that. Like,
because it's not one man.
Like, I don't.
That's also a fact. I watched a reporter that's still in Russia reporting on her own YouTube channel and stuff, say she tried to tell people back in the day, don't vote him in because you're not voting one man in, you're voting him and all his fucking goons into office. So it's not one man, it's all the whatever that word is.
The oligarchs, right? So it's like he's basically made a whole bunch of people into billionaires, and because of that, they protect him. You know what I mean? Like, he can do whatever he wants because he's surrounded by the most powerful people in the country. So,
and that's why the sanctions are, even though to us that's not a big deal, is very important, because once all those rich people aren't as rich anymore, they're not going to see as big a benefit for him to be in office anymore.
That is the idea.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. And also, like, they do that to their kids, and they're like, because a lot of these rich people, hopefully they care about their kids, they want their kids to have good lives.
Yeah. I mean, what the right thing to do is, I have no idea, right? You know what I mean? It's not, none of this is because it's NATO, right? It's an alliance of countries, a treaty organization of basically all of Western Europe and the United States. And, so Biden can't make a decision on his own, and no other Western, nor should he. I don't think anybody should be unilaterally deciding what to do. But yeah, so I mean, to do with if the alternatives are sanctions or start World War III. That's a tough freaking
Right.
choice. It's a scary choice for anybody.
Well, not in my
Scary.
opinion,
But also, and I also want to say that Russia, this is another thing, Russia and United States are peers when it comes to nuclear weapons.
Right.
So we are not stronger than them.
Right.
So it's important to know that we are peers. So this is
we are also not the only ones pissed off at him.
Mm-hmm.
That is, he has himself, possibly China, and two other countries with nuclear weapons or something against the rest of the world. It's not just America.
I agree.
The thing is, you're right, dude. But the thing is, it doesn't matter, because a nuclear war, if it were to actually happen, right? During the Cold War, what they always referred to the number one reason we never had a nuclear war was because of what they called mutually assured destruction. Because if there was a nuclear war, we all knew, every country knew, that everyone would die. I mean, that's really what mutually assured destruction meant.
Welcome to the fucking road warrior.
Right,
man.
exactly.
Welcome to Mad Max.
The upside,
and the people
right?
in the bunkers will survive.
Right. Well, the people in the bunkers would survive. Right. But unfortunately, that situation still exists. So that's why I wasn't saying you were wrong, Keel. You're right. All the other countries.
It's very complex. I don't know, because all of my Ukrainian friends close the sky, and I don't think it's that easy, and I don't think it's extremely dangerous. Like I listen to because if we close the sky, it's 100% guaranteed that there's going to be. Russians are gonna basically hit us.
Of course,
hit Russians, and then it's gonna. Yeah. How do you stop this escalation?
A direct conflict between Russia and the United States is
the most two powerful countries that have the most weapons.
It doesn't happen. They avoided it through the whole Cold War.
I have a very interesting question. Before all of this happened, what was your family's stance on the Ukrainian president? Did you guys like him?
No.
No, you didn't like. Do you guys like him now?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not. Some people love him. My family doesn't care about him. They feel like everything is corruption and everything is propaganda. They don't care, but they care about their relatives, they care about their families, they live their lives, they have jobs, they have husbands, they have their kids, they have their life. It's like it's like and somebody coming in and killing kids and people, and it's hard to watch. It's like what I think Ukraine is not so much even for the land. I think it's for the cruelty and this person is just killing people, and he's saying for no reason, and it's atrocity. It's inhumane what he's doing. It's like against humanity, globally. It's not even about
That's why I say if we got to start World War III, go right ahead and do it, and I'm fine with whatever happens to me, because it is against humanity. It's against the humanity of humanity. It's not just those are people over. Whoever's watching this right now in America,
I have a kid,
people over there.
and I don't care if I die, but I want my daughter to.
Right.
I understand that. I don't have that situation, so.
And and I feel like that's what, and I think if I was in Ukraine, I probably would run just for my daughter.
Right.
It's a cowardly thing to do, but I would probably.
No, I don't think it is.
The refugee. That's for my daughter, because she's 4.5 years old. She hasn't seen anything yet. And she's so loving and so, I don't know.
It's not cowardly. It's not, because you're not saying if I was on my own and it was just me, I would run away for my own good. It's not like that. When you're a parent, you have to think in terms of their own benefit as well. So don't think that it's cowardly to say that, because the world and whoever's watching this knows you're not saying you are afraid and you would be afraid for you. You're doing it for someone that is innocent. I mean, obviously you're innocent too, but you know what I mean? like psychologically and mentally innocent, just a very innocent being. So no, it's not cowardly to say that at all.
I think,
right.
yeah, and I think what Putin does is like that's like fascism. Like he's killing innocent people, and that's
Right.
the most. And you know, like you said, do they care about the president? My relatives don't care about the president. Some people care about the president because they love him, but it doesn't matter. It's like it's not about Zelensky. It's about the people that the kids, the older people, the young people that just being killed and bombarded. I mean, they completely flatten out Kharkov. You know, Kharkov. They everything is. I think I've never been there, but I heard it's one of the most beautiful cities in Ukraine.
Probably not anymore, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Man,
unfortunately.
I think that is, it's exactly the point when you said, it's not about the president or even about the country. It's about the people in it and the humanity of it all. And so I was going to respond when you were talking about like, oh, it's probably cowardly to say I would run with my kid. Absolutely not. And I, Kilo will tell you, I'm a pacifist. I mean, you haven't heard me say, yeah, let's go fight. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel that way ever about anything. You know what I mean?
Right. Because you just want to.
I'm 100% opposed to violence in all forms.
Me too.
Right? Yeah. So
I feel like it's better use words. Better. I mean.
Exactly. So anyways, so I don't know. I think it's honorable to not kill. That's what I think.
I agree.
So.
And I since I'm on the devil's advocate side on this right now, I am very much kind of Buddhist-y and stuff like that, but it's like, it's hard for me in this situation that I never thought I'd have to deal with. Let's just put that into perspective. It's 2022. Sure. We have fucking electric cars that drive themselves. I thought we were past this kind of behavior.
Me too. It's just kind of, I felt like wars kind of like were like, we already were, I think as a society, we're developing where we're not going to have really like, I just felt like we were like more developing towards like kind of not seeing colors and not seeing races and kind of people just being tolerant towards each other's opinions and towards each other's, and even for me, like I, when I go to see Russian channels and they say about fashion, I'm like I fight with them and they say to me, fuck you. But like, I prefer that to, I feel like it should be in the open instead of like this censorship of like, no, you can't say like we're going to just kill each other. Like, I feel like there should be in the open and we should be able to talk to people who are different opinions and different.
I agree. I agree.
Absolutely. But just to kind of have a social commentary about this for people to watch, it's like, for me, it is definitely wrong to kill. Absolutely. If you broke into my house right now, I wouldn't kill you no matter what. Right? In that instance, it seems very understandable from my point of view, but sometimes I feel violence has to deal with violence, which I don't feel
understand. Sometimes you have to. I understand, yes. Yeah. And we might have to. We might have to. Like I don't know how to. We don't know how it's going to end. So far it's escalating, and it's not.
But it's kind of funny that I can put it into perspective sometimes on something that I talk about a lot on this show, which is like the game that I play. Right? I play a video game, and it's like, so I play this game, and there's a lot of cheaters in the game, and it's bothering the game, and it's ruining the game. And so my crew, the Streets of Rage, like, we decided we were going to get a computer on our team and have him have hacks. And at first we thought that would be violence for violence, right? So we thought, okay, so we're going to get this player to have hacks and he's going to be able to take the cheaters out and we're going to deal with it that way. That absolutely backfired and did not work, right? It was a shit show. It just made more hackers come try to beat us. And we finally found a way to deal with them. But I'm saying, like, I, in my heart, go, fuck them. Let's just go be violent. But then in my logical mind of what I've dealt with in my life, on a very small scale, I'm dealing with someone who thinks they can do whatever the fuck they want. That did not work. There is always a better way to deal with it, which we fucking finally found a way, but it's like that all the way backfired in our face, wholeheartedly backfired. It was
there you go.
just bad. So I logically do know that the violence for violence is not the way to go, because I've seen it happen in a weird, different form. So it's like
you just basically, Kayla, you just basically told the video game version of Gandhi's saying that an eye for an eye only. He said an eye for an eye only makes the whole world blind.
It was terrible.
That's exactly what you're saying.
And luckily, we finally stopped it and found a way, because my friend is brilliant, to actually control the situation. We're making it a better place. And I hope that, like, on a bigger scale, there's some kind of weird solution, because the way he figured it out, I'm not going to go into it, but it's like, we never would have thought of it. It was just a step of certain things you can do that kind of neutralize the situation. But it's like, I hope that this situation turns into that, where there's smart enough people out there that find a non-violent way to kind of the sanctions is along the lines of what we've done, but it is kind of, maybe it might work out that way, where it's like these rich people are no longer rich people, and they're kind of like, okay, we're done with you now, like, go fuck yourself. I mean, it's weird to say. I would love to just be there helping kill people, because I'm definitely not that.
I hope they have like a, because I mean, they must be aware that this is not going well. I hope that some people there have enough courage to kind of take
one of the oligarchs already put like a price on his head, like a while back. Not even now. Like, now it's getting worse. He already was like, I'm done with you. Like, somebody take care of this. But it's like,
I bet that guy doesn't live in Russia anymore.
So I don't think he was there when he said that.
Exactly.
But it's like, okay, Bob, let's just think about this for a second. You're saying this because people are so afraid of Putin and he's so terrifying and stuff. But he's terrifying because of the people that he keeps around him. When you take them out of the picture, if they get pissed off at him enough because of the sanctions, because of whatever, maybe other things, guess who's going to be terrified of them now? Not the Russian people who are saying shit. It's going to be him. If you keep...
I think he's probably already terrified.
Sure, absolutely.
That's probably how he lives.
He lives in a bunker,
Right.
It's a very isolated way of life.
And he already was. So let's think about it this way. If he already was, and then you're realizing, oh shit, I am now going to be pissing off the rich folks that were keeping me safe. My protection is now mad at me. I mean, maybe he's going to do some crazy shit because of it, but he's not the big bad wolf anymore. Because let's just say this to our audience. He's a sheep in wolf's clothing, right? He's a scared. Okay, everybody.
I think so. No, I think he's probably not as powerful.
Like, that acts like he's not. He's a scared little bitch that, like, is because
if you really,
I think you're right. I wasn't arguing with you.
I know that.
I think you're right too. I think people that are like secure in themselves, they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? If you need to really, really like pump yourself up and show you must be really, really insecure.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
And the big bad ugly fucking wolf that people thought he was is not going to live in a goddamn bunker. People of our audience, please put that into perspective.
Yes.
If you are a scary dude that's fucking scary as shit, you're going to be fucking walking through the streets with billions of dollars in a fucking briefcase like that one boxer, Merriweather. Like, there walks around with a bag with $1 million in it everywhere he goes, because he's like, I dare you to fucking take this. You're not gonna, and that's true. That actually happens. You're not gonna live in a fucking bunker underground with no one around you. Sit at a table the size of my fucking apartment just to talk to people. He's not the big bad wolf. He's a fucking coward that wears a big bad wolf suit. And people need to realize that.
Hey man, right on.
But he's very
Right on.
evil, so that's kind of like, he's very evil and I think unpredictable in the sense that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that
Sure,
there are
he's definitely crazy and
right.
unpredictable. Sure.
There are two things that make him scary. The reason people are scared of him, right? One is power, and the other is he's unpredictable. He's clearly got no conscience, and so he has no compassion, and no empathy. Doesn't give a shit about you.
Doesn't give a shit about his own people.
Exactly.
Any kind of people. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's terrifying.
That is terrifying. Like he acts like he has
ultimate. He's like the second most powerful man in the world, and he doesn't give a shit.
And he keeps blackmailing with this nuclear. He's like, I got nuclear. He keeps throwing it out there, and it's it's like that's not. Usually that's not something that you do. You don't want to escalate. You want to,
unless you're insane.
Someone that has big balls is not going to threaten nuclear, right? They're not, in my opinion, this is my opinion.
I agree.
We're not gonna like I've always said to people, because I lived in Tulsa, right, which is not a very safe place. That's where I came from. The dude that you don't want to fuck with is a dude that's not being like, I'm big, bad, and ugly, right? The dude that's at the party in the corner, and when you talk shit to them, they don't say anything back. That's the dude you need to be afraid of, because the dude that's like, back up, bro, I'll beat the shit out of you, dude. Like, that is not, he's saying that. It's like a dog, right? If you back if a small dog is backed into a corner or sees my big ass pit bull, it's going to bark, right? It's going to say, "Rawr," like, don't touch me, I'm scary. That's what threatening nuclear war, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It could just be insane.
So there's two views. So one I've heard views that saying he's just talking, but the other view, he's been talking about capturing Ukraine for quite a while. Actually, he's been saying that for quite a while, and he did that. And
he's been talking about nuclear for a while too.
So some people say that. Some people say that we should listen what he's saying. And
I'm not saying we shouldn't listen.
I don't know. It's hard to. I don't know him. But it's like I know that I'm dealing with somebody. Like I know that we're dealing with somebody extremely dangerous.
Well, also I heard one of the diplomats or something in an interview, a Russian diplomat, right? Talk about that, and he actually prefaced the interview. He started it off by saying, "We are not insane," meaning the Russians. We have things in place for nuclear war. There are steps that would have to be taken, and the interviewer said that is him saying, like, "Don't worry, we're not just gonna let Putin push one button and the world is over," right? Meaning, like, they already know he's fucking crazy. And there are rules in place. So it's not just him. It's not Mr. Crazy Pants decides one day to bomb.
I hope so.
I hope it's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, and if it is that way, then they are insane and stupid.
But you make a good point, Killa, that nobody really knows the inner workings of the Russian government. We definitely don't, and who knows? I've always had this image for the last 20 years. I've had this image of basically Putin is just a dictator. He's got his thugs around him, and he can do whatever he wants, and he gets no opposition. That may be exactly what it is, but there may be subversive opposition that he gets, like you're describing, all the time, and maybe that would be that would stop
back to her point. She said, "Well, he's been threatening this for years, and he finally did it." And I think you misspoke. You said, "And then he did take Ukraine." Let's just say he didn't.
Sorry, not take, but attack. He was talking about attack. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So if his nuclear capabilities is as capable as his fucking soldiers,
it could be a good point. But I mean,
that is a good point. I hope
that'd be great. That'd be great if he just forgot to maintain all those missiles for all these decades rusted out.
That's a great point.
I love it.
If his food rations are 4 years old that he's trying to send his troops he's trying to take over a country, how maintained are his missiles? Because when you think the world is afraid of you, which it was, why the fuck do you need to take care of your military? Why do you need a good military if the world's afraid of you? Just back to my point on the cheaters of the Need for Speed. One of the things we realized was, yes, they have the hacks, but they don't take the time to be good at the game. So we found a way around them beating the shit out of us because we're like, wait, they're not actually good. We're
not good anymore. They're cheating.
They're not.
So they're
they
not
were
good.
never good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they got the hacks to never learn how to play the game, and I feel like that is how Putin is. It's like
That's a good
he
point.
was the big bad wolf. So why bother have guns that actually aren't rusted to shit? Because that's what the Ukrainian soldiers said is when they got the guns, they were so rusted that it's like they were jamming and not firing half the time. Let alone his military. I just heard right before we started this interview, his military's shooting each other on mistake half the time. So it's like you got people that are so untrained that they're attacking another convoy of Russians, and they're using weapons that are jamming and not working. Same as the cheaters. They never learned how to play because they used the hacks. So people like us that know how to play, like the military clearly of Ukraine, they know how to fight. They are capable, and they're being given great weapons from the United States, from whoever the fuck else has the balls to do it. So, I mean, I know it's weird because I know I stand with the minority here, but I also am decently good at predicting things after watching things. I don't think he can win this. It's even if it goes to nuclear, we're all gonna fucking die.
I don't think he will ever win the Ukraine because even if he takes over, I mean, and if he puts somebody there, I mean, you basically have to always watch like over your shoulder. I mean, it will be never say, somebody will it's the Ukrainian people will never give up. I know that for sure. So that will never happen. I'm just saying more like I'm talking in terms of, I know they will never give up. I just, and I know he will never take Ukraine. I just don't want this to happen when more and more and more and more and more people dead. Like I wish it would happen now. Like already a lot of people dead. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to be on the completely bloody. It's already like it's just. Yeah, I want it to be sooner rather than more casualties.
They're also saying that actually, like, there is a talk of Zelensky and him actually having a meeting soon and sitting down, which I think for Zelensky, that's a dumb idea. Don't do that, but whatever. Do whatever you want, Mr. Big Balls. But it's like, if it's gotten to that point, clearly he's not being crazy anymore, and he realizes I'm basically not going to win this thing. Because think about it this way. If Ukraine is able to, in open field combat, kind of do as good as they're doing, when you enter a city that these people know, right? This is their, if you came to Burbank, which is a suburb of LA, and you personally tried to attack here, I'm going to have the advantage all the way because I know the town, I know where to drive, I know what I've lived here for, I think, like 7 years. Like, I know the back alleyways, I know the people, I know every liquor store, every gas station, every area. So it's like, if he didn't get opposed this much and then he entered those areas, then it may be as hard as it is now. But thinking logically, if it was that hard to begin with, and then you enter those areas that they know very well, just going back to video games, like once you enter an area where people, like in like war games, like an area where those people know that area better, it's called map control, I guess. My friend who actually, his episode came out right before this episode, taught me this technique of map control. So you control only one small area, which is actually what I always thought Zelensky was doing in the first place, which was like controlling Kyiv was, I think, in my opinion, the main idea, right? So it's like, if you control an area that you're very, very, very familiar with, once people come there to get you, they're fucked. I mean, in video game world, at least, they're fucked because you have it under control. You're waiting. Because what's funny is Zelensky said he didn't have any war experience except for in video games. My dad told me, which I thought was great because once I saw that he was like waiting in a certain area, I think it was Kyiv, I realized what he was doing, which in video game world is a tactic called camping. And I've told Bob this, I may have talked about it on the show before. Those people who are campers are the kids that you fucking hate because they will wait and they will stay all the way in the back of the map and wait and fortify and get all their players into one area to where you have to come to them. And then you're fucked. And then when I heard that, that's when I came up with the idea, maybe they're not as fucked as I thought. Because that's a very efficient strategy when it comes to video games. Why wouldn't it be in a war against kids who don't want to be there? Like,
I got to say, Kilo, your video game analogies are on point today. You're they're my favorite ones ever.
I hate bringing it back to that, but it like
I'm telling you the truth.
Sense, you know,
I'm telling you the truth. I think you made a lot of really good. Yeah, you made a lot of really good points.
People are dying. I want to emphasize that to the people. I'm not saying.
I'm very touched. Like, I think it's amazing. I think you were really amazing. So
absolutely.
I think you are amazing for coming on the show and having the balls to talk about something that's depressing.
No, I am. I think I'm like a little bit like pessimistic or like whatever. Like I want to have more.
I understand. Yeah,
optimism in me.
But I'm a weird person because I think Bob and our audience understand. I am very weird where I can always find a good solution or a good.
That's important. That's a very important skill.
That. I think my brain is broken from getting numerous.
No,
it's a great kind of weird.
But I have to run because I have to pick up my daughter.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to.
We are very thankful that you're here.
Thank you guys. I really had, I mean, it was so nice. I can't wait to hear your song. Bob just sent it to me right before the show, so I didn't get the chance.
And it'll be
I'm really touched by like your, compassion, and it means a lot to people.
Thank you for being here with us. I'm sorry that we ran over the time by 40 fucking minutes.
It's all good, man.
But we appreciate you being here, and we'll leave links for everybody in the bio for your music.
Oh, thank you.
Still care about.
Thank you so much, Bob. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Margarita. I'll be in touch. All right, man.
Awesome. We did great.
Yeah, that was cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good. So
I think we did a good job.
I think so. I think you did a good job. I think
being.
Well, no, it was, I think when we watch it back, you'll see that most of it was, I think, a really good conversation between you and Margarita. And I enjoyed it.
I apologize. I wasn't trying to do that.
You don't do that. I jump in whenever I want to.
Right.
I was enjoying listening to you guys talk is all I'm saying. It was a good conversation. So I got my notes in there, I didn't want to get too much of my, because guys, my philosophies don't really fit when we talk about things in that situation.
Me seeing that you were right when I had one of our teammates who I don't even think is in my crew anymore for him using cheats and wanting to use the cheats still because he got them and now he wants to use them. It's like, now you're not part of our movement. But it's like, I get a very real world vision of what you were saying, which is before when I was like, I want to go kill people. Like, I got a very good perspective on that when we did that type of thing, which is like, well, if they're going to cheat, we're going to have someone that can cheat too. That fucking backfired so wholeheartedly,
well,
bro.
There you go. If you think about the whole saying of like fighting fire with fire, what does that get you? Just a bigger fire. You know what I mean?
That was just a saying to me my whole life until that instance happened where it's like, then all the cheaters came to fuck with us.
A bigger fire. That's
right. It didn't do any good at all. And it did take us being smarter and figuring out a way around it. So it's like, I understand that. So I agree with you and her. We should, now that, she had to run and I totally understand, but we should end our show properly now. We're really thankful.
Oh, okay.
we're
Yeah,
still
that's right. I guess
recording.
we're still going. All right.
Yeah,
So,
we're really thankful that you guys were here. That was a little, I mean, the world has changed since our show started. Did I think that every day I would wake up and be like, well, who's fucked today? No, I didn't ever thought that would be a thing. It changed, definitely changed my worldview a little bit. Not as bad as I thought it would at first. I thought everything was out the window, but it did. And I hope to our audience, you guys stay optimistic about the world and about life, and you don't just go into the dark corners of your mind like I have sometimes. There's still good people out there. This is not the end of humanity being humane, I think.
right on, man.
Or it is,
Well,
and I'm wrong, and he gets away with it, and it's fine. But
you know how I know it isn't, dude? Because you're a part of humanity. I'm a part of humanity. Margarita's part of humanity. You know what I mean? And we're not going to stop being humane, and neither will all the millions of other people, billions of other people in the world that are like us. So you're right. This is not the end of. And and the one thing I was thinking too, when we were talking about a lot about this, I alluded to it real briefly, but growing up in the 80s, because it did. So I was born in 1970. So I was in 1980, I was 10. And in 1990, I was 20. So, I mean, that's like solidly, like I was Generation X growing up in the 80s. And then my 20s were in the 90s. And so there was always this feeling like that the U.S. and the Soviet Union were going to start World War III, like kind of all the time, I mean, so much so there were all the movies and everything constantly about it. We were always we talk about it in school. We'd learn about it in school, what to do if there was a nuclear bomb, and then it ended, literally at the end of the 80s. The 1989 is when the Berlin Wall fell. I was in college. I remember watching it on television, drinking beer, just thinking, this is bizarre. I was like, this is the end of the world. Just changed massively and will never be the same. And it's
how I felt
exactly
when this started.
Right. And that is what happened. And that at that moment, that was sort of a change for the better, and then now it's morphed into what Russia is today and what we are today, to be honest.
Right.
So, but anyway, all of this entire experience of like, for people my age, for Generation X, right? Because you and Margarita are about the same age. I think she's in her 30s, and you are as well. And so you guys would be, I guess we had, I'm Gen X. You guys would be millennials, and then they're younger people than you are. Whatever they're called, Generation Y or Z or something. Anyway, anyway, the point is that I think for people my age, the Gen Xers, that we have a different perspective on this, in that like in a sad way, we've been preparing for this our whole lives. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. Oh, we're not done with this yet. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a crazy bastard in Russia that's threatening to throw nuclear missiles at us. All right, well, okay, it's like, change your shirt, but get the other hat. All right, now we're in Cold War mode. That's how it feels. I don't want to belittle it, because I know there are people, and there's that, but of course there's the horror of people dying in Ukraine. So the two things in parallel is it's a bizarre, surreal experience for me. It's really very strange.
Yeah, one day me and you are working on an awesome album, and the next day I wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, wow, that's a different world now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wake up to a different world where I'm writing music about real life horror.
Yeah.
So it's like, but everybody can do their part. We'll leave, we already have left, because you're watching this, but we've left in the description, the charities that you can donate to.
Yes.
There's also, I'm sure, clothing drives in your area. I know they do them in LA, wherever you're at. There's always, even if you're in my situation or worse, where you cannot go and give food and go fight if you like violence. Like, there's always something you can do to help, because this is no longer about like, fuck Putin or whatever. It's about like helping the people who are going through it now. So just, scroll to the description and see what you can do. You might not have the money to help, right? But you always, there's also a website, I don't know if we'll be able to find it, but you probably can, where they'll give you like a weird code, and it'll give you a random phone number of a Russian. I actually found this the other day, and it gives you a made message that to them in Russian, and you just click the button and you click send, and it sends them like news of what's actually going on. So even if that's the only thing you can do, it's crazy. I think Anonymous made the website or something.
Right.
It's pretty cool. So I mean, we live in 2022 where I thought that we were past this barbaric shit. So there's always something you can do to help. So if you feel upset by watching this, don't, because you have a way of doing something good for the people out there who are struggling with this. Please don't hate Russian people because of this. It's not their fault.
Right.
Don't be angry at them. They're still good people, normal people, just like Margarita said, just like normal humans that are like the Russian. I mean, like the Ukrainians. They're dealing with it too. So do whatever you can to help, or hug your kids, whatever it takes. So,
right on.
Thank you for being with us. Please like and subscribe. We always have fun, even when we're talking about war, apparently. So,
there you go, man. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Adios.
Hey, let's take a minute.
Now stay tuned for the world premiere video, Glory to Ukraine, by Kilo House. Warning. This video contains disturbing and vile images of war. It was not created to exploit these tragedies, but to show the disgusting and brutal nature of war. The House of Static stands with the proud and heroic people of Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
Ця ніч була тяжкою. Що вони роблять? Це помста. Народ піднявся на захист своєї держави, і вони відкрили справжнє обличчя. Це терор. Це терор. Українці. Ми чітко знаємо, що захищаємо. Ми точно переможемо.
Слава кожному нашому солдату. Слава Україні!